What a fantastic card it is. William Hill Super Saturday at Newbury featuring the William Hill Hurdle. And we're going to kick off our preview by having a look at the first ITV race, which is the William Hill Top Price Guarantee Handicap Hurdle. It will not surprise you to learn that it does what it says on the tin, because William Hill have their top price guarantee not only on the first ITV race, but on the feature race as well. Jane, I will come to you first. Jane Mangan, Andrew Thornton with me. Because we've got a horse in here who is teeing himself up for the Cheltenham Festival over fences, but running here over hurdles. Notwithstanding all of that, he might yet win 80 Couleur. What do you think?
Well, I know you're a big fan, so I
I
don't
am.
completely dash your dreams, but I think he's going to be better in March over larger obstacles because it's going to be difficult for him to defy top weight here, even though Sean Boyne is aboard. Look, I think he couldn't probably be in any better form. When he beat Transmission, he showed that stamina is no issue. But back over hurdles, I think it's going to be difficult for him to give weight away all round. And this is a race I like up for parole. I think the handicapper's been fair, giving him a £6 rise for winning at Foss Lass. He's running here off 127. And he's actually won off 129 before. So I think the track, the trip, the ground, that'll be no issue for him. Gavin Sheehan's going to be doing the steering. And look, your guy is top weight and top of the market. So I'm going to look elsewhere. And it's up for parole for me.
I think my guy, whatever happens on Saturday, watch out for my guy, 80 Couleur, in the National Hunt Chase, which is now a handicap. Rebecca Curtis has compared him very favourably to horses like O'Phelan's Boy and T for Three, who she won Festival Novice Chasers with. So I'm very keen on that horse. Andrew, I couldn't help noticing your old mucker, Rob Walford, who you spent a lot of time with in his younger days. He's got Shut Up Shirley here, who's won the last three. He is a very good trainer when it comes to placing horses in the right race.
Yeah, Nick, and this has been the one for me, I think, as well. He's made sure that the horse, he's had plenty of time between runs, which I think is imperative when you've got a horse who has had a long time off. You always want more than a month, so 7 weeks, I'd say, is perfect. And he was around as well when the likes of Miko de Beauchene ran in this kind of race, and you're on about Otti Couleur. He ran in this race before. He went for the National Hunt Chase when he unseated rider, I think, was 4 out. So it is a race that trainers do target for their long distance performers.
Wow.
So certainly think that Otti Couleur, although he's got top weight, he's a classy horse. Sean Boyne knows him exceptionally well. I think he'll be in the mix, but I think that Rob Walford with Shut Up Shirley, I'd say this has been one that has been on the agenda. And with bottom weight, Otti Couleur might just have it all to do to give away that weight.
All right. Well, Shut Up Shirley in receipt of £1.09 from 80 Couleur. I'm going to stick with 80 Couleur. Jane likes Up for Parole. Andrew likes Shut Up Shirley. We've got it pretty well covered, I think, between us. We're going to move on. All right, so the 225 is named for one of the great heroes of Newbury, the dual Hennessy Gold Cup winner, winner of this race, Denman. And this is the William Hill Bet 10, Get 10 Denman Chase 225. If you bet a tenner on any race at Newbury with William Hill on Saturday, you get a £10 free bet to use on horse racing. Check the website or the app for full terms and conditions. It's been won by some wonderful horses. I mentioned Denman, but Cordo Star, Native River, Coney Gree. I don't think we've got any of them in this race this year. But it's quite a strange race, Andrew, but one that if you've got a view, you might get quite a nice prize. Where are you leaning?
Yeah, I honestly think it's set up for brave man's game because I've been frustrated the way he's been campaigned in the last couple of seasons because they've always said he's good fresh. He's been to obviously the Charlie Hall. I think he bumped into a horse this year that loves top of the ground, the real whacker. I think he ran right up to his best, to be honest with you. And I think the fact that they keep on going to Haydock after Weatherby, I don't understand that. I genuinely do not understand that because they've always said he's a good horse fresh. The ground at Newbury this weekend, I always think the chase course rides an awful lot quicker than the hurdle track. They forecast a little bit of rain, I think. We're recording Friday, a little bit of rain tonight, but it's a free draining track. I think it's for brave man's game, this. Everything's right for him. A flat left-handed track. He's better going this way round. The Jello Venetia's, I'm convinced, although he's won round Newbury, I'm convinced he's better right-handed, and we saw him at his best at Huntingdon. And to me, this might be a second thought. For me, this has been Braveman's game since he ran at Christmas. So I'm sticking with what looks like the market leader because I think everything's right for him.
Jane, are you keeping the faith with Braveman's game? I mean, if he can't win this, you're going to start worrying about whether he's going to win another race.
Yeah, to be honest, I was never in Camp Brave Man's game. He's been a grand horse. He's won a King George, but it's the last win he has had is that 2022 King George, and ever since then he's been multiple beaten favourite. He's obviously been keeping the best of company, but I just wonder, is he the same horse that finished second to Galopin Des Champs in the Gold Cup 2 years ago? I think he's favourite. He's too short. He's too many questions to answer. And now at the age of 10, with the tongue strap going on for the first time, you couldn't really have any confidence. Like, it would be understandable if he did manage to win it, but I just couldn't be on his side at short odds. I'm actually very interested in a horse called Le Patron. First time over the distance. It's interesting what Andrew says about the track riding quicker than maybe advertised. I think that will suit him because the 3 mile test is probably the main question mark for him. But he's a Grade 1 winner of the Henry VIII as a novice last year. Okay, it probably was a Grade 1 in name and not nature, but it's still on his CV. He beat Scarface at the track back in November. I think he blatantly underperformed in Handicap Company in the December Gold Cup at Cheltenham last time. And I think he's best suited by a small field. I think that'll make David Noonan's task a little bit easier. He's rated 152 and he's just turned 7. I think there's more juice in Le Patron. I think he's potentially better than some of these horses who are coming back down. Like Gala isn't getting any better. Hitman isn't getting any better. I agree with Andrew on Jello. I think maybe right-handed is the key to him, and I was disappointed with him at Windsor last time. And Brave Man's Game's certainly not getting any better. So I'm going to go for the Moors here, Le Patron. Hopefully he can step up to the mark. This looks like a good spot for him.
Don't laugh. I think Hitman might win. He is a horse who hasn't won since November 2022. And he really isn't the heartiest. But I just think in a race like this, which could just fall apart, and you get a toe into the race by horses who shouldn't really be good enough, but are going to be ridden forward, horses like Sam Brown, for example, and I'd imagine they won't ride Garlaw too far away. Brave Man's Game's always handy. I think he might just be able to glide round. I think
Has
as
he been a cliff horse for you, Nick?
a bit, well, a bit. I know all the talents there. He is obviously completely infuriating. Tossed the race away at Ascot last time when Teresita got a great ride and didn't help his cause by blundering at the last. If Freddie Gingell just sits and sits and sits and sits and sits, I could just see it falling apart for him. He has run well both times. He's in good form. He was third in last year's Ryanair. You know, he's got some fantastic form to his name. And I just think this is his track. You know, he ran a great race in it last year behind Shishkin. And it's such an iffy race. I'm not sure Jello's going to stay, and I'm not sure he likes going this way around. I don't know what Brave Man's Game is now, and I do think they'll get on with it. And I think Hitman will just glide into it, and he's certainly
And
good.
I think Freddie Ginger will be watching this, and he'll ignore whatever Paul Nicholls tells him in the paddock, and he'll say, "Nick Luck told me how to ride this horse, and I don't need to hear from anybody else."
The
Well, I mean,
problem
it's
is, the
not
problem in Nick is, the problem with Hitman is he'd have been a very good horse if it wasn't for his wind. That's always been his issue, and I think that's why he's
But
such
sure,
a
how
weak
many
finisher.
horses can you say that about, Andrew?
I
There's
know,
so
but
many
he
examples of that.
he has had, I don't know how many wind ups he's had, but he's had
four
his fair share,
four wind ups.
which that's not great.
No, the last one seems to have
If
worked all right.
anybody's whipping out their tenor and they've just heard 4 wind ups, they're just putting it straight back in their pocket, aren't they?
Just listen, Jane. You can take the Mickey all you want. Just get the horse backed. Just get him backed.
With your money, maybe.
The Hitman. He's going to do it tomorrow, mark my words. So I think we've got one vote for Brave Man's Game, one very well argued case for Le Patron, and it's a very ill argued case from me for dear old Hitman. But listen, I'll be at Warwick, miles away, so I'm not going to have to take him for it.
Safe.
So what did you say?
Safely tucked away at Warwick.
Yeah, safely tucked away at Warwick. That's the William Hill bet 10, get 10. Denman Chase is due off at 225. All right, the 3 o'clock at Newbury on Super Saturday, William Hill Super Saturday, is the William Hill Best Odds Guaranteed Game Spirit Chase. Again, it does what it says on the tin. Best odds guaranteed available every day from 8 o'clock in the morning with William Hill on every race in the UK and Ireland. Best odds guaranteed from 8 o'clock, every race in the UK and Ireland. I mean, a wonderful honour roll to this race. Altior as Urtiot masterminded, and of course Nicky Henderson used it with Sprinter Sacre. He was going to do the same again with Sergino, and oh no, Sergino's got a little injury, which means he can't run. It has, however, opened the race up from a betting point of view. It might not have been a cakewalk for him anyway. Andrew, I'll come to you first here. No Sergino, still, however, a race that's likely to be run at a pretty searching gallop, I would have thought. Who do you like?
Yeah, it's probably made it more interesting from a, like you said, betting perspective. Last year's winner, Edward Stone, Matata. I think it could be a case of this is an afterthought after Windsor. I thought Windsor might have taken an awful lot of the juice out of Matata. JPR1, keep on coming back to him for the Tizzards. This has been the aim. This has been the aim since, obviously, the Holden Gold Cup. He likes decent ground, and I'll go back to the fact of Newbury at this time of year. I always think it dries up quickly, and this should be ideal for him. He's going to be a bit of a tasty price. Although Sergino doesn't run, I still think he'd be a good price, and this is what I would say. This is his champion chase. So I'm with JPR1 for the Tizzards. He beat J Lo down in the Holden Gold Cup. And I just think the ground's right for him. I think the track's right for him.
Interesting. JPR1 is the outsider of the 5 that remain at the moment. Edward Stone was ridden for the first time in a different fashion in this race last year, Jane. They sent him and it really worked. They got the best out of him. Matata's a horse, by contrast, who was restrained early at Windsor last time and then allowed to open up in the mid part of the race. Brilliant move from JJ Slevin. Liberty Hunter, you'd think, will be sitting and stalking. Master Chewy, they need to get him jumping first and then ride a race on him. What do you like?
Well, firstly, I'm relieved that opposition didn't shy away from Sergino, because we would have had an absolute pitiful race if that were the case and he came out. So thankfully, they all stood their ground and we actually have a decent renewal. I take Andrew's point on JPR1, but there's very little between Matata and JPR1 when they met at Lingfield last year. Now they're running off a £6 difference. They were running off levels last year when JPR1 beat him. I think Matata will have his measure getting the £6 from him this time around. I think JJ Slevin actually could be a real asset to Matata. I was impressed with him the way he rode in the last day. Took him down to the start early. Tried to get him some way breathing. I remember Matata winning his point to point. He was complete tearaway because he actually was a breeze up horse, which is unusual now that he's over fences. But he is as keen as he is because he's always been that way from a very young age. And I think the way he was ridden the last day may well help him. He's definitely well treated at the weights. He's the one I'm coming down the side of because at this stage, Edward Stone, we know what we have. Unless they change tactics again, I don't see why he could win this race beating the younger legs, giving them weight. I like Liberty Hunter to a degree, but I think Matata is the one for me. I don't think he's a horse that's going to win a champion chase, but I could see him finishing top 3 in one. I don't say that lightly because there's plenty of horses in here that wouldn't make the frame in a champion chase.
Yeah, to be honest, I think they need to look at the penalty structures for these races, these Grade Twos. It was the same in the Cotswold Chase the other day, where winners of races 18 months ago, Grade 2 races, had to concede a £6 penalty to recent winners of good races. And you got it here, because the Windsor races aren't of graded status, you escape penalties. So Matata, who's won a really good race, is unpenalised, 11 stone 2. And Edward Stone, who hasn't won a race since this last year, gets a £6 penalty. Seems to make absolutely no sense at all, Andrew.
No, I agree with you on that front. And, Matata won a heck of a prize. I still think, come back to the fact that this is for me, this is an afterthought with him. Windsor was number one target, 100%. So, you know, I go back to the Windsor race. The fact is, Matata should have been taking on John Bon in a handicap carrying 10-5. You know, but that's food for another day. But I still don't understand why we don't have a massive handicap with a lot of money on the table when you've got those kind of horses taking on the best. Because the money's on the table, they will take on the best. But I still think it's an afterthought for Matata.
I would give Master Chewy a little squeak here. He's not a very good jumper, but I bet Nigel Twiston-Davis will tell you there's nothing between him and Matata. And that appeared to be the case in last year's Arkle, when Master Chewy would undoubtedly have beaten him and run a really good race. I think the priority last time was just to get him round at Cheltenham. It only came a week after his fall in the Tingle Creek. He gave a lot of weight to Liberty Hunter, but for which I think he would have been pretty close to him. Put it this way, I don't think he should be twice the price of Liberty Hunter. And although he might be better going the other way around, he was running a good race in the Arkle, and I don't think he's too far off these. So I'm at sort of 6-7-1. I'd be quite tempted by Master Chewy. So we got one vote for Matata, one vote for JPL, one for Master Chewy. That's the William Hill Best Odds Guaranteed Game Spirit Chase, 3 o'clock on Saturday. All right, the 3:35 is the feature race on Saturday. It is the ultra valuable William Hill Hurdle. William Hill offering top price guarantee on this race, on this feature race, and it's an extra place race to boot. It's always wide open. This is no different. Jane, I'll let you have first stab at this.
Yeah, just the 18 to go from. We don't have a full field of 24 runners, but we still have a massive pool to pick from. I think Harry Derham has done a fantastic job so far with Washington. He's 2 from 2 since getting him from Paul Nicholls. I was really impressed with him at Fairyhouse. I thought he did a lot wrong. He was keen. He probably hit the front too soon. That was on Hatton's Grace Hurdle Day back in November, and he got a £12 rise for it. But I think he's justified the rise because the horse that was second was in a Skerry, who's won a feature Premier Handicap at Leopardstown over Christmas. So it's Washington for me off a mark of 133, but he's in and around 10-1. I hope he stays that way. There's plenty of horses in here like Joyeuse, who you're thinking, is she, with her stablemate in as top weight, is she really well weighted at 10-7? The answer is probably yes, but I watched back her run at Cheltenham the last day, and I don't know, I didn't see her flashing home, put it that way. She didn't have any valid excuses for me. Secret Squirrel under the £5 penalty is obviously of interest, but I can only pick one here, and I'm going with Washington. It's quite a good timing as well with all that's happening in the Oval Office at the minute. It would be an apt winner, wouldn't it?
Yes, indeed. Andrew, you're obviously a big Trump fan. Are you keen on Washington?
God, Nick, you do know me well. Put it this way, shakes things up if nothing else. Joyeuse, obviously, Take No Chances was behind this one at Cheltenham last time, who came out and franked the form by winning the Mares race in a tight finish at Ascot. Probably just is skinny enough in the market because of connections. But Nicky Henderson Newbury is like Paul Nicholls and Wincanton. So you've always got to think this is Nicky Henderson's backyard. So I certainly respect Joyeuse's chances, but I think the price reflects that. I'm very interested in Mirabad for Dr. Richard Newland and Jamie Insall, a free-going type who keeps on galloping. Bearing in mind, it's the stiff old track at Cheltenham that this horse won over 2-1 and went a lickety-split gallop and kept going. Very impressed with that. The fact the horse with Luke Scott taking 5 off, we've seen plenty of horses win this race before from up on the front end and keep going. And I think, bearing in mind, this was a 94 rated flat horse and has been kept reasonably busy. But I do like the fact that the horse has had 2 months off since the last run. I think 10 or 12-1, I think is overpriced because you see horses round here at this time of year get loose on the front. I mean, this horse probably isn't in the same bracket, but does have round about a stone less. Can you remember back in the day when Make a Stand went lickety split round here with Chris Maud with 11.7 on its back? Well, this horse has only got 10.9 and it won't hang around. I think they'll be bold and brave. And the yard of Jamie Insole and Dr. Richard Newland is going very well this season and I think is overpriced.
All right, Jane, what do you like?
Well, I'm not changing from Washington.
Okay, Washington it is for Jane. Andrew likes Mirabad for the Newland Insole team. There's loads I like in this race. Loads I think are interesting. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see last year's winner, Iberico Lord, go close again. I don't think he got 2.5 miles at Windsor last time, and it was a confidence booster back over hurdles. And the eye keeps being drawn to the stable companion Joyeuse, and obviously he's keeping the weights down for her a little bit. But I do think he could go well again. I think ultimately though, I'm going to come down on a horse who I think has got an absolute bundle of talent, and we haven't seen the best of yet. And that is Secret Squirrel. I was impressed with him. I thought he was value for more than the winning margin. I don't think a £5 penalty is enough to stop him. Boring though it might be, Secret Squirrel is the pick for me in the William Hill Hurdle, and that takes place at 3:35. All right, we head on into Sunday now and Navan, where we've got a William Hill top price guarantee race, and that is the Boyne Hurdle at 2:40. William Hill top price guarantees continue into Sunday, and they are available here. Okay, so that's the 2:40 at Navan. Loads of good chasers here, having a tee up back over hurdles. I mean, Tiger Roll has done this in this race before. It's a really hard race to have a bet in as a result of that, Jane, because we're not really quite sure for whom this is the day.
Yeah, you have to weigh up and ask yourself the question, who's going to be teed up, primed for Navan on Sunday, or who's thinking of other things? Like, for instance, Manila Indo is definitely working back from the Aintree Grand National in April. Farron Glory is back over hurdles, having tried fences, and I'd say didn't really love that game. So he's probably on a confidence boosting mission. Riviere to Tell, the same probably applies. I think she's a little bit in no man's land, and Bustleton hasn't been seen since disappointing in cross-country races behind Stumptown. So for me, I'm going to come down on a horse that I was really impressed with at Goran Park when he was second in the Galmoy hurdle, and that's the Devil's Coachman. He's currently top of the market. It's not a terribly original choice, but he hasn't managed to win since winning this race back in 2022. He's been campaigned over fences, but he's quite lightly raced, and I think he's very consistent. He'll have no issue with the ground. The ground's going to be testing up there. I think it's drying out, which will probably make it the worst kind of ground. It'll be sticky. Noel Mead's obviously a local trainer who does really well at Navan, but for me, it's the Devil's Coachman because Farron Glory, question marks, Manila Indo working back. The other horse to mention, and is definitely worthy of consideration for people who are looking for bigger odds, is Meet and Greet. His first run back at Punchestown behind Kitzbühel was definitely, I was there that day, he was definitely robust in the ring, to say the least. He went and won over Christmas down at Limerick on heavy ground.
You're calling him fat, Jane, aren't you? You can't do that. Not in 2025.
I'm going to call him strong.
Okay.
Yeah, God bless the people who are making the new version of The Devil Wears Prada. It's going to be very woke. But yeah, he was second in this race last year behind Blazing Cal. 2 years in 2023. He's a good horse. And if he was in bigger yards, Meet and Greet would be shorter price. For me, it's the Devil's Coachman, but watch out for Meet and Greet.
All right. I am going to go with Meet and Greets because I think he's just going to get a bit more built into his price because he's not from one of the sexier yards. I was quite impressed with him at Limerick, and a bit more of a stamina test is not going to be an issue for him, I don't think. Andrew, what about you?
I like the Devil's Coachman, in agreement with Jane. I think with Noel Mead, the local trainer, Noel doesn't have a big string like he used to, and I'd say this has been the main target for this fella.
All right, so that is the William Hill top price guarantee Boyne hurdle. It is due off at 2:40. 2 votes for the Devil's Coachman, kind of 1.5 votes for Meet and Greet. We got you covered. 3:45 at Navan on Sunday. It's the William Hill Best Odds Guaranteed Novices Chase. It's going to be very testing up the hill at Navan in heavy ground with a bit more rain forecast. And 3 of the 5 here trained by Gordon Elliott. Stellar Story, Better Days Ahead, and 3-Card Bragg, opposed by chosen witness to Willie Mullins and Vincent Halley's Arctic Squire, who's being asked a big question just a week after the Dublin Racing Festival. Better Days Ahead didn't run the DRF Jane. What do we think about him 3 miles Navan on this ground?
I think he's the best horse in the race, and I think he'll win. I got a little bit of, not regret is the wrong word, but a little bit of, I don't know what the word I'm trying to say, with Gordon Elliott at Leopardstown. I think he half regretted taking him out of the Ballyburn Croke Park race. I think he felt the ground was quicker than it actually rode on the day, and they took him out, and he's here. So hopefully they'll gain compensation. Gordon's won 3 of the last 4 renewals of this race. He won it last year in these colours with American Mike. This horse is a way better horse than American Mike. I think he could be, aside from Dancing City and Ballyburn, I think he could be the other brand advisory horse from this country. Another stride, and he was past Croke Park at Christmas. He beat Slade Steele here over 2.5 miles. We know what he did in the Martin Pipe. He is by far and away the best horse, and I would be disappointed if he gets beaten here.
Okay, Andrew, what about you?
I'd take a punt with 3-Card Bragg. He likes the track round here. Ground won't be an issue. He obviously, Gordon, he's got 3 in here. Respect Jane's thoughts, but on this day, it might be just 3-Card Bragg.
Respect Jane's thoughts, but I think she's wrong, is what you're saying. Thanks.
Yeah, correct.
I do actually think Willie's horse Chosen Witness will run better. I think this is what he wants, 3 miles on soft ground, but he's going to have to take a big step forward to beat these. I'm with Better Days Ahead for all the reasons given above. So a couple of Better Days Ahead, 1 3-Card Bragg. That is the 3:45 at Navan. It's the William Hill Best Odds Guaranteed Novices Chase. All right, that's it for another edition of the Inside Track on those William Hill sponsored cards. Newbury on Saturday and Navan on Sunday. 2 countries, very different groups of horses, very different ground. One thing is going to unite us all, and that is winners aplenty, hopefully from Jane Mangan and Andrew Thornton. You will have views as well. If you do have those views, please, we'd love to hear them. Pop them in the comments section below. But in the meantime, do gamble responsibly. 18 plus. We'll see you next time. That's it for now.